Hi everyone, Matt from Redstone here. I lead BD for Redstone, which is an Oracle provider. And as an Oracle, we specialize in one thing mainly, which is yield-bearing collateral for lending markets. Stablecoins being a great example of that type of collateral. Now, pricing stables, because they are a correlated asset in a framework that I'm just going to present in a second, is non-trivial. And I know this is contradictory, or this is not really logical, because the price is 1, or most of the times it's 1. And that's exactly the problem with pricing correlated assets, such as stables, against USD. So I'll just dive deep into that in a second, but before that, let me try to do a quick recap on what price is and what flavors it comes. So there is 2 main variations of price that lending markets now use. The first one is a pure market price, and this is the most fair and unopinionated way to price any asset, because it's basically what the market tells you the asset is worth. So pure market price, we usually use slippage-based pricing or liquidity-based pricing, as opposed to the volume-based model that is present in TradFi and used by some of our competitors as well. And the simple reason for that is that if you use on-chain trading venues, such as liquidity pools for extracting the prices, it's fairly easy to skew them with volume. You can do wash trading, and it's fairly easy to try to skew the Oracle. So that's why we use liquidity, but no matter which model you choose, you still need quite a lot of liquidity to be kept on-chain at all times, which gets expensive. And it does not give you any strong guarantees against short-term depegs or short-term volatility spikes. They can always happen, even if you've got quite a lot of liquidity on-chain. So that's the pure market price. And on the other side of the spectrum, you've got the pure contract ratio. What a contract ratio in that specific framework is basically the assets that you want to price versus the base asset for the collateral asset in the contract. So to give you something tangible here, for staked ETH from Lido, that would be the amount of outstanding staked ETH against the ETH that's locked in Lido's contract. Now, lending markets can also use that type of price for indicating the underlying fundamental value of the asset they would like to use. And some of them do, pretty much in the same way as they would use pure market price. Now, there is also hybrid variations. We do that just to make sure that when there is a wrapped asset, for example, that the asset issuer does not have to invest a lot into maintaining liquidity for 2 assets, such as USD from Ethena and SUSD from Ethena, which is the non-rebasing version. They can only invest in liquidity for USD, and we just take the contract ratio just to make it available for lending markets. But that is just a caveat. In general, what you have to remember is that there is 2 main flavors of price. One of them is market-based, one of them is contract-based. Now, when it comes to correlated assets, these are all the assets or asset pairs for which the price is close to a fixed value, such as 1, or 1 plus yield if we are talking about a yield-bearing stablecoin or yield-bearing asset in general. These are all the stables priced in USD, all the LSTs priced in ETH, LRTs priced in ETH, Bitcoin LSTs priced in Bitcoin. So the price it almost never changes, and that's the main problem with it, because it changes the dynamics and the expected value of actually using a market price, which is the standard way of pricing normal assets, so uncorrelated assets. Now, how do we price a correlated asset then? Well, if we try to do it with the standard market price, there is benefits and drawbacks to that. The main benefit is that if the asset goes to 0, you are going to know about this as a protocol. You are going to be able to liquidate the collateral and avoid bad debt. Now, the probability of such a scenario is fairly low. It's probably close to 0. But the probability of the negative scenario that I've got on the against side of this slide is way higher, and that is short-term depegs of the price of the collateral assets. So the general expected value of this whole setup for a market price is usually negative, and that's the main problem. And this was well demonstrated by some of the depegs that happened in the past, such as the Easy ETH depeg. Here you can see the display of the price by Chainlink and us during the time of the depeg. So for everybody that was using the market price back then, they avoided bad debt, they could sell the collateral, but at the same time, users got upset because they got liquidated. The price got back to 1 in like an hour. So that was a short-term deviation from 1, but still, if you use the market price, that is what happens. You just get liquidated. Now, using contract ratio or pure contract ratio is not ideal either, because yes, you are resilient against short-term depegs, but at the same time, you need to trust the asset issuer. First, because the contract ratio is often self-reported, so if they wanted, they could misreport it, have inflated collateral and extract the protocol. And also, there could be delays with that contract specifically. The contract can go down, it can revert errors and whatnot. So you really have to be very careful with trusting them with a pure contract ratio, such as in this setup. Now, none of those setups is perfect. So if we were to create a solution that would work well for all of the possible scenarios, it would look something like this. So we would have the stability of the contract ratio. So we are not resilient. We are resilient to short-term depegs, but at the same time, we would have the sensitivity and credibility of a market price. And if we were to do a setup like this, here are the conditions that we would like to have satisfied. So first, the price can never go above a certain cap, which usually is defined by the base asset plus yield. And second, if things go really south, if the asset goes to 0, we at least want to know about this as a lending market, just to be able to at least pause the lending and borrowing activity on a given market. Over the past couple of months, we've seen great developments on that front, especially in the Aave ecosystem. So the framework proposed by BGD, which is one of the biggest contributors to Aave, it focuses on making sure that we don't have the inflated collateral problem, which is people just don't come in and exploit the protocol. So they have set up caps on how high the price can go for certain correlated assets. And that is something that we believe is a great step in the right direction. But at the same time, when it comes to how we approach this specific problem, yes, we are using caps as well, but at the same time, we are also adding the market price component. So not only adding the contract price, but also the market price component to check for discrepancies. If there is a big discrepancy between the market price and the contract price, what you have to do as a protocol is just pause lending and borrowing. We also offer snapshots for the contract ratio so that everybody can hold the asset issuer accountable so that it's not possible to exploit the protocol just by misreporting the contract ratio. Now, there is many, many more developments happening on that front, on the correlated asset side of things, one of which being using TWAPs, so time-weighted averages as opposed to spot price for the market price component. And that is just a teaser. We believe this could be or has the potential to be the supreme price for lending markets in the longer term. Just putting it out there. But the general message here is that if you are working on a lending market, if pricing correlated assets is something close to your heart, well, we might just have a solution for you. So be sure to hit us up and just let's chat more about this. Thank you so much for your time.